Hi, welcome to today's class on digital access. If you've not ran your audio setup wizard, then please do so now. By now, you guys have ran yours, so if it says recording in your top right-hand screen, please give me a check mark or smiley face. All right, thank you. Put up a do not disturb sign and relax. Today we'll be talking about digital access. Digital access is having capabilities to access the internet and digital information while connecting with others to share ideas. Throughout this presentation, we'll talk about many different types of digital access and issues that we face, such as reaching out to people with disabilities, people who lack financial resources, people who lack computer knowledge and or training, socio-demographic groups that might not have access, school districts without access, and people in other countries that might not be able to access due to government control. So digital access for people with disabilities. One of the problems with technology is that the creators do not take into consideration people with disabilities. Sarah kind of talked about this in her presentation. One of the examples from NPR said that they didn't think there was enough market share for them to really consider this. So, you know, everything in our world today, it boils down to money, and they don't think that reaching out to the disabled will make them enough money, but one of the consultants said it's a multi-billion-dollar mistake, so it really is. And I mean, if we look at our values and morals, I mean, it's the right thing to do too, and plus it's the law. The example from NPR is a girl named Alex. She broke her neck in a car accident, and she got a pair of Google glasses. And with these Google glasses, she can talk on the phone with her grandma and search the internet with voice controls. So it really levels the playing field for her and for any other disabled people. This, to us, seems like simple things, but for people with disabilities, it greatly levels the playing field. And technology innovations such as Google Glasses can help give equitable access to people that have disabilities. As teachers, we need to take this into consideration for people with disabilities and make sure that they have the same digital opportunities as everyone else. And there's a web link at the bottom for the link to the video or the talk that came from NPR. All right, I'm going to open up Web Tour, and we're going to watch a short little video on China's Great Firewall. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but in China they have censorship on what their citizens can view on the internet. So let me open up Web Tour real quick. And I'll post the link down here in the text box too for any virtual listeners, or if the link does not work.
This area behind me may not look like much, but it could be the first big crack in the Great Firewall of China. Beijing has long blocked popular social networking sites like Facebook or Twitter, and occasionally publications like the New York Times, for fear they could stoke social unrest. Now, according to an unconfirmed report in Hong Kong's South China Morning Post, internet users will be able to freely surf all websites in a new free trade zone in Shanghai, expected to launch soon. Behind me is the Waigaoqiao bonded zone. It's expected to be one part of this free trade zone. Facebook declined to comment on the report, and there are still no rules about how the free trade zone will work. But if the ban on the internet is lifted, and as rumored, companies will be able to freely trade Chinese currency, then this area is going to start to feel a lot different from the rest of China. There's been a lot of buzz about this Shanghai new free trade zone, but several foreign company executives I've spoken to are skeptical about how much things will really open up. Also, opening up the Great Firewall of China in one zone isn't likely to have that big of an impact. In hotels and conference centers around China where there are a lot of foreign guests, the sites like Facebook and Twitter are already accessible, and people buy VPN services to be able to surf the net freely. China also has its own homegrown microblogging service such as Weibo, which is quite popular already. Then there's the fact that this place is about an hour from downtown Shanghai. So you know what? I'm going to keep paying my $10 a month to get my VPN service so I can keep in touch with friends and families all over the world, no matter where I am.
All right. What's your guys' opinion on that? I mean, do you think the government should be able to monitor security on websites and internet access?
I mean, I don't think so, but I think that we come from a very, very different ideas than they do. But no, I don't think that, because again, it goes back to having access to information, and all of your decision making is sort of based on that. So no, I don't think so.
Jerry, what's your opinion?
No, I don't think the government should. I mean, unlike China, we have the freedom to view anything on the web, except for some few areas that are considered illegal where there's laws. But no, I don't think the government has that authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read into this a little more in depth, and they actually have what they call like internet police that will look at Chinese IP addresses and go in and monitor, what people's doing. So here in America, that's kind of invaded on people's privacy, I guess you would say. But yeah, and then in China, they wouldn't allow people to access like the New York Times because it gives the Chinese people a negative image of their government, so they don't want to allow them to see that. This just talks a little bit more in depth about it. Like I said, they blocked the New York Times back in January. I read on it actually came from the New York Times, but they didn't want their citizens to see the articles about their government because it would put a negative impression on the Chinese citizens. And on January 21st, their internet was actually down for 8 hours, so they couldn't view anything, and it just puts a big restriction on their internet access. Next, we'll talk about lack of digital access due to financial resources. Here's an example of India. 3/4 of their population live on less than $2 a day, and so they have a problem even getting internet access or having devices. The government worked together with tablet company to produce a tablet for $35, but for most people that live in India, it's still considered too expensive. They think that if they can make these tablets accessible to their students, that they would be able to improve their level of education. And this is still a problem throughout lots of places in the world that are still developing. We have to realize this fact, and our government need to step in and try to level the playing field across the world, because as we move forward in the future, we need to focus on a global economy and working together through the internet. So if some places in the world, that might have resources that we need, that we need to make sure that we have access to communicate with them back and forth. Let's see, an example locally was about a school district that had all their forms online, and a student did not have internet access, and both of their parents worked and could not go by the school to pick them up. So it's all right to have things located on the internet, but we have to accommodate for students that might not have resources, because even in the United States, we still have regions that might be low income, and they might not be able to afford internet, or might not have a device to access the internet. So we have to take this into consideration, when we're designing courses for students and uploading information online. Here's just an opinion question. There's no right or wrong answer. For senior citizens, what's the most important technology program they should know how to use? So let me change this real quick. If you could give me a response, please. All right. Yeah, I agree with you both. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. My grandma, she don't know how to use the internet or anything, but every time she comes over to the house, she'll ask to view my cousins and nieces' Facebook pages to see what they're up to. And I don't have really any long distance family, but for people with long distance family, they had an article where a grandma was Skyping one of her grandchildren over in a different country. So all these technologies are important. The main thing we need to take into consideration is teaching senior citizens how to use these programs and gain digital access. Here's an example from NPR video. In Washington, they have older adults that meet a couple times a week, and they learn how to operate an iPad. And this helps them to join social networks and reconnect with old friends or family, that might not live close to them. And then it also gives them an opportunity to meet new friends at these places in Washington. So once they do learn how to use an iPad, they can stay connected with these new people that they meet. And it's just awesome, because it gives them a new opportunity, and it gives them great joy. All right, lack of knowledge or access to digital information. As we go through here, we talk about a lot of different types of digital access, and this might be one that we really don't think about a lot, but not all of us have the same computer skills as everyone. For an example, when I was in high school, they had a class called Intro to Internet, and the first day we went in the class, and our teacher was like, all right, today we're going to learn how to open an internet browser. And for some of us, that seems really stupid, but there might be some students that do not have a computer or never used the internet before because of coming from a low-income family or other various reasons. So it's important that we reach all students, and we don't take anything for granted, because we want to make sure that all students have the same knowledge and resources to use the internet and its capabilities. All right, here's we're going to go into a group question. So I've made a breakout room for you guys to discuss this, and then I'll put 5 minutes on the timer for you guys. I created 2 questions. I just took one from each. I'll just have you guys answer one. You guys can pick one and answer it. So, and then we'll meet back here and we'll talk about it. So if you guys could just move to the breakout room that I've created, and I'll set a timer for 5 minutes. me. All right, if you could just write some ideas real quick on what you guys came up with in the room. That way, any virtual listeners out there can see what we talked about. And which scenario did you guys pick?
We did the digital access technology user scenario.
All right. Let me give you moderator privileges real quick. All right, go ahead and just type some ideas out here in a text box. That way our virtual listeners can see too.
Okay.
And as you guys are typing, you can kind of explain to our virtual listeners too what your guys' ideas were for this.
One is we talked about using the library or hooking the library up for providing training, either at the library itself or at the Senior Citizen Center. And that's assuming that the Senior Citizen Center basically has internet access and has enough PCBs and things to conduct the program.
Mm-hmm.
We also talked about area high schools providing service learning activities in which they could come in and work with the senior citizens, and that would, in a lot of that would be more one-on-one type of situation where the library would just be kind of, wouldn't be basically one-on-one, but be to a whole group. So that could possibly be helpful if that program was available to them.
Now, do you guys have any older people in your guys' family that know how to use technology? Like my family, they most of the older people in my family, they don't know how to use any kind of technology.
My mom does, but my dad's not very good at it.
Sarah, do you have any older?
Just a computer.
Just a computer.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think they know how to use a tablet or a smartphone, so they just have older phones.
Yeah, my dad, he says whenever people ask him, he says he has a dumb phone, not a smartphone. And then my mom, she can read text messages, but she don't know how to type back yet. So I'm trying to help them get into that, but they're still. Well, my dad, he's a computer programmer, so he knows a lot. But mom and grandma and grandpa, they don't know too much. So, all right, is there anything else you guys want to add for that scenario?
I don't have anything.
All right. And then here's a list of references. So in closing today, I just want you guys to take away that there's many different groups that we have to address when talking about digital access. I've talked about people that come from low income, people in different countries that are restricted due to governments, the older population, people with disabilities. So as individuals, we need to just be aware of this, and if we're teaching, then we need to make equitable access for all of our students. So I'd like to thank you guys for your time today, and hope you enjoyed this.